Edochie. I will forever love you, Edochie. You, Edochie, is pokereko. You, Edochie, is an example of men make the decisions. Good morning. Good morning, you guys. How are you guys? I just got up from sleep now, and I want to quickly talk about a chapter of the Bible that none of your pastors are talking about. None of your daddy GOs will ever preach this chapter. Your mommy GOs will never preach this chapter. Your evangelists, your women of God, your men of God will never talk about this chapter. This chapter is Exodus 21 verse 10. Exodus 21 verse 10. Go and read it. You know, Christians don't like who tells them the truth. That is why I stopped being a Christian. I left Christianity 8 years ago, even when I was a baby, because I'm a hardcore girl. I will always ask the question, not be today I start to stand for the truth. I will always ask questions. And when you begin to ask questions in Christianity, they start seeing you as an evil person. They start seeing you as somebody who is too forward. They start discriminating you, because Christianity is a religion of fear. They will always want to put that fear in you so that you don't ask the rightful questions. Not me. I'm going to ask questions. I don't believe in Christianity. I don't believe in that bullshit called Bible. Though I do read it for some kind of clarifications. You understand? Because I'm somebody that I will argue how weak of a religion Christianity is. I will argue how setback of a religion Christianity is. I will argue how dumb of a religion Christianity is. That is why most times I read the Bible. You don't read Bible past me. Those days I did for SU. Now we the kabash, now we the pray. But when I began to question some things to know the truth, that is when I realized that Christianity is for the weak, people like me. You cannot emotionally blackmail me into believing that Jesus Christ died for me. You can't. Almost saying, Jesus, you are evil. Let me be evil, because I don't want to believe in that stupid thing called Christianity. That is why you will see that most Christians are very wicked. They are more evil than you that does not even believe in anything. If you see me talking about Christianity, I was born into a Christian home. I left that bullshit religion because I don't see myself there. Even if I marry a Christian tomorrow, don't put me in it. Now, let's talk about Exodus 21 verse 10. Your daddy GOs never read this chapter. They will never read it. Because if they read this chapter for you, you are going to leave that church. You will feel like that man of God is not telling you the truth. You will feel like, this your daddy GO, don't they talk rubbish well. Some married women will leave that church immediately. Your daddy GO or your mommy GO or your prophetess start reading the truth part of the Bible. Exodus 21 verse 10. And I read, if a man takes another wife for himself, her food, her clothes, and her duty of marriage shall not be diminished. Let me read the chapter, you understand it well. Exodus 21 verse 10. If a man who has married a slave wife takes another wife for himself, he must not neglect the right of the first wife to food, to clothes, and sexual intimacy. What is this chapter trying to tell you? That a man can marry two wives. This chapter is talking about polygamy. But most of your pastors will come and tell you, one man, one wife. One man, one wife. So that they will emotionally put fear in your brain not to explore. Then that you see as evil, marry 2, 3, 4, 5 wives. If you enjoy polygamy as a man, go into it. If that's your first wife, no one day, let her go. If you don't like polygamy, stay with one wife. Not everybody likes drama. Yes. Don't say the Bible said one man, one wife. Fuck that shit. Exodus 21 verse 10 is talking about polygamy. Me and you know. The reason why your pastors are not reading this chapter is because you as a married woman will stop coming to that church if this man of God reads this chapter for you. Omeragi explained very well. entitled to marry another wife. As far as that man does not stop feeding you, does not stop enagogo, does not stop clothing you, does not stop giving you shelter. If a man decides to take another wife, please take care of your first wife. It's not a crime. It's not an abomination. Some people will come up here and say, oh, Chisom, if you marry now, would you want to share your husband with another woman? As far as I'm the first, because I know my character. Yes, I am not a Christian. I am not a Christian. I am not a God-fearing human being. What you cannot tolerate as a Christian, I will comfortably tolerate it. When I got a move in here, I'm not shallow-minded. So, the reason why your pastors are not reading this chapter is they don't want you to run as a member. They don't want you to run. And if your Bible in Exodus 21 verse 10 is talking about polygamy and how a man is entitled to marry second wife, third wife, as far as he provides their basic needs, why did your Bible still go to another chapter to tell you one man, one wife? Don't you see that your Bible is confused? And they make a religion, a religion that will make you comfortable by sweet talking words to convince you. Can I go in that religion? They will not tell you the truth. Prosperity. I speak prosperity into your life. I speak progress. I speak money. Your husband is entitled to marry unless he does not like polygamy, unless he does not want. Because it's not a crime. It's not evil. It's not bad. Oh, my God, the pastor 80% of your pastors, there is no truth in their mouth. Hardly will you see a pastor that has truth in their mouth. Just a kandash. And the reason why they are lying to you is because of your money, your tithe and offering. Your pastor when they honor, or from tithe and offering, you go to the police station. That's not a claim no when they honor. Your pastor does not have a job. So any day your pastor began to tell you the truth apart from prophecy and too many prayers, that day you wake up. That day you will wake up. Let alone you that if you read this Bible, you are going to wake up, get to some nonsense and buy the Bible up. Christianity is for the shallow-minded. How can the Bible be talking about polygamy? And when people want to get married, they say they will not come and emotionally blackmail the man that one man, one wife. And Exodus is talking about, Exodus 21 verse 10 is talking about polygamy. That is why I love you, Edochie. I will forever love you, Edochie. You, Edochie, is you, Edochie, is an example of men make the decisions. If you like, they move yourself. As each other, they move yourself. The thing I want you to do.
You are once again welcome to Evangelist Imakalu TV, Treasury of Excellent Knowledge. This is part 40 of Cutting the Serpentine Tongues. The subcaption is The Bible Endorses Polygamy While Christians Don't. That is another serpentine line. I'm sorry, another serpentine line gushing out from the mouth of Chisom Ama. I am going to explain. And Yul Edochie is her case study, her case example, her case assertion to assert what she is claiming. Yul Edochie, according to her, is a typical or perfect example of men made the decision. And according to her, Yul Edochie had made the right decision. And we we Christians who refuse to endorse polygamy, we are mistaken and we are evil, we are wicked. Chisom has serpentine intelligence. Intelligence that seems to be so wonderful, so helpful, and so progressive. But in reality, it is very, very poisonous, venomous. I'm going to explain. If Yul Edochie is a case example, or her excellent example, I know she is just arguing because she is so adamant to win an argument, not really because she's making the reasons. But the gullible will not understand that she is not making the reasons. And I'm going to prove it and bring the reasons into what has happened. Yul Edochie is a wicked man, a very selfish man. Together with Judy Austin, that woman she married. What is the reason that Chisom does not tell you about this? Yul Edochie went to committing adultery to the extent of pulling Judy Austin from her marriage. Judy Austin was committing adultery to the extent of pulling Yul Edochie out of his own marriage, because the marriage of Yul Edochie is broken and that of Judy Austin is broken and caused by these two, adulterer and adulteress. The two of them are the problem, not the former husband of Judy Austin and not the former wife of Yul Edochie. It is the selfishness and wickedness of these people that make them believe that they will be in marriage and be committing adultery. So it is stealing, it is covetousness, it is wickedness, it is selfishness, and it is because they are not considerate. But to their Judy Austin is not considerate to her former husband, which is the real husband, and she is not considerate to the wife of Yul Edochie. Yul Edochie is not considerate to his own wife, Mae Edochie. He is not considerate to the husband of Judy Austin, which is Mr. Obasa. So their selfishness and their wickedness and their lust, their sexual lust, their lust for sex compel them to engage into adultery for many, many years, to the extent they join themselves together in marriage. According to Chisom, she has quoted the Bible in Exodus chapter 21 verse 10, where the Bible categorically states that a man in polygamy should not neglect one another among his wife, should be treating them with equal opportunity, equal providence, equal care, according to what she called their basic needs. And the Chisom claims to know the Bible very well and have proven the Bible to be wrong, to be confusing, and foolish. She claimed to be an SU member, Scriptural Union member in the schools, in secondary schools and in university. And she was a vibrant Christian who knows Bible very well, and today she has left Christianity and begin to disbelieve the Bible and begin to disbelieve God. And according to her, Christianity is for the weak. But in reality, Christianity is for the strong. The weak are those who run away from Christianity. And what is the reason they are weak? The reason they are weak is because they cannot discipline themselves enough to stabilize on the standards of Christianity. And at the same time, the majority of them are gullible, just like Jason. Jason was never there. All of the years she spent in the SU institution, she was a Bible illiterate. And until she left Christianity, she was a Bible illiterate. Up to today, she is still a Bible illiterate. And that Bible illiteracy is the fundamental factor that pulled her away from Christianity. And she is so arrogant that she cannot be teachable to learn. That is the worst problem she has. She cannot engage in divergent view of the Bible, in divergent explanation, interpretation, and the comprehension of the Bible. She is so conceited. She thinks, she's a rigid thinker. She thinks she concludes everything and want to try to intimidate everybody into believing in her own confusing perception of the Bible, of Christianity, and of the Christians, including of the Bible and God. I continue to explain. The Bible endorses it in Exodus 21 verse 10 and many other scriptures in the Old Testament. And the same Bible stands against polygamy in the New Testament. And it is Jesus himself who mentioned it categorically. We are quoting Jesus from the New Testament for standing against polygamy. Now I will explain more and more. That is the reason, by the grace of God, I am your excellent Bible teacher. Before God called Abraham, who gave birth to Isaac, and Isaac gave birth to Jacob. Jacob gave birth to 12 sons who form the ancestral, the ancestors of the 12 tribes of Israel. Polygamy was a tradition in the East, in the Near East, where Abraham originated, and in many other parts of the world, including Africa, where we call Africa today. So polygamy is a part of culture and tradition made by human being, not by God. So when God called Abraham, God was relating with Abraham. So even though Abraham had a surrogate wife, which is Hagar, not properly into polygamy, Jacob practiced polygamy. So on that lineage of Israel, the polygamy started with Jacob. So it is Jacob's father-in-law, which is Laban, that gave Jacob the idea of polygamy. And that is to tell you it is part of their culture. They never argued over it. All they agreed about is that Jacob should serve him more as a price for to pay the dowry and the traditional marriage of the second wife, which will be Rachel after Leah. And that they did exactly, his polygamy began, and he ended up marrying 4 wives. Excuse me. Sorry for the delay, there was an emergency. So, the polygamy was endorsed, first of all, according to Bible relationship and according to what we are quoting. First of all, by Jacob and Laban. It was not first of all from God. It was not first of all from the Bible, but from Jacob and Laban. And as a result of that, it becomes a permissive will marriage, not a perfect will marriage. And there are situations, there are matters that arose between them that led them into agreeing to accept that polygamy. So there was agreement between them. And there was agreement, the wives, the two elder and the younger sister, Leah and Rachel, they never quarreled over it. Their father discussed on their behalf and they accepted it. So, what is the foundation of the oath agreement? And why was that working among them, even though they began to have problems in their marriage? But they never separated. They remained in that marriage. It is that initial agreement. That initial agreement. According to Chisom, Yul Edochie is a perfect example of man made the decision. Man is entitled to marry two or more, and the woman is under compulsion to accept it. That is a lie. It is a lie where there is no initial agreement. The same Bible that Chisom does not quote to you is Amos. Amos chapter 3 verse 8, we say, except two agree, they cannot work together. Is there an agreement for that polygamy? So polygamy had become a cultural issue among the Israelis, which they established by themselves. The mentality, the polygamy mentality, they brought from their culture, from their non-Christian, non-Judaism cultural ancestry. They brought that mentality and that practice into their own life, even while they were relating with God. Without asking God first, they decided and they began it. To them, they never saw anything wrong with it, but it is not the perfect will of God. The reason it's not the perfect will of God is because God knows polygamy can never really function without bringing problems that the polygamy itself generates. Apart from problems human beings have under other regarding to their personal characters, regarding to their human imperfection. But when two faithful people are into marriage, even in their imperfection, they will always know how to quarrel and reconcile and continue to amend themselves while the marriage progresses. But as far as polygamy begins, there is always problem. Even the marriage may not break, but there will always be problems. Problems cannot be settled in that polygamy just because of the polygamy itself. That is the reason I wrote this book, Polygamy and Its Problems, from Points of Reality. When you read this book, you will understand deeply what I am talking about. So, the reason God endorses, it is God who spoke what Jesus read in Exodus 21 verse 10. It is God who spoke it to Moses. Then it becomes a law guiding the Israelis concerning polygamy. The reason is that, as I've explained before, God also answered people of their prayers and give people their desires based on their permissive will, based on their permissive choice. But he still holds them accountable if that their practices shatter their relationship with him in any way. They will still pay for it because God never sent them to practice polygamy. They choose it for themselves. And God is not a tyrant. God is diplomatic. Yet, he is the God of integrity and the responsible God. So that is what happened. There are things, even we humans, we choose for ourselves and we begin it, even before we get God involved with it. And in some cases, so far we have come with it, will make God not to say, hey, stop it. So that is what we have chosen. My advice to you, or my rule to you, my commandment to you concerning what you are already into is this and that. That is exactly what God has declared to the Israelites. Yul Edochie, according to Chisom, is the perfect example of man makes the decision. Man makes the decision. It is not, Yul Edochie can never be the perfect example because Chisom, with his serpentine tongue, refuses to tell us whether Yul Edochie makes the right decision or the wrong decision. Look at the problem his polygamy has been causing in his life, in the life of his children. A shattered family he has now. So now, let us keep that of Yul Edochie aside, because there are people who are into polygamy who never coveted, who never stole anybody's husband or anybody's wife. So under neutral grounds, making this decision can never be perfect anywhere, any day, because God can never make that decision for anybody. It is personal decision, and the personal decision can never be perfect. It can never yield the perfect result. It only yields the selfish result. Then the problems it generates becomes greater than the dividends which it provides. And that is exactly what happened in polygamy. So a man can make the wrong choice. A man can make the wrong choice. Chisom loving Yul Edochie for whatever reason does not really make sense. You may love an evil person. You may love a confused person. You may love anyone you choose to love. That does not make any change. Chisom, even not as a Christian, can tolerate even what we, the Christian, cannot tolerate. Yes, you are free to tolerate whatever you want to tolerate. And you, Chisom, cannot also tolerate what we Christians can tolerate in our own dimension. The good thing we can tolerate, you cannot tolerate. The evil thing you can tolerate, we cannot tolerate. So that is the reason we are Christians. And according to her, Christians are not wise. It is those who had forsaken Christianity that are wise. It is a lie, a typical lie. Anybody who practices real Christianity is among the excellently wise people on earth, and I am among them by the grace of God. I don't mean the churchgoers. Many people in the church have not even have the right perception of Christianity, and what they practice is not Christianity. But I mean those who really understand Christianity and practice the real Christianity, they are the wisest. And that is the reason Jesus Christ is the wisest. Those who follow him vehemently are among the wisest of their own generation, of every generation. So, why did the Old Testament stand against the same polygamy? According to Chisom, that is to prove that the Bible is lying, the Bible is confused. No, the truth is that Chisom is a Bible illiterate. She is the one who is confused, who have not really understand the Bible. Until she understands the Bible, she will come to the knowledge of the truth. Christianity is God the Reformation movement. Christianity is made for reformation. Polygamy and many other things the Israelites practice through their permissive will. God allowed it to go with them through that time. Even God will not judge them with it. Yet God will judge them when they commit sin for practicing polygamy. If that polygamy lead them into sin, God will judge them for the sin, but will not judge them for the polygamy, because he has said, okay, under your permissive will, go ahead, and I give you this rule. And any person who makes mistake to play any partiality in that polygamy, it becomes a problem. Most of them, they have the law, but they never. It is so difficult. It is I don't really see it possible for a man in polygamy to be just, to be fair, to be equally fair to all of his wives. It is impossible. It doesn't happen. It doesn't happen. He must have his preference. And any move to have the preference is violating the law which God has given to them. And that is where their problems begin. Can you be wiser than the Bible? Can you be wiser than God? Can you outsmart God with your serpentine intelligent, myopic, shallow-minded Jews and her like, calling us Christians the shallow-minded people? Well, she is saying that because truly over 90% of the Christians are Bible illiterates. Over 90% of the Christians are naive and gullible regarding Bible knowledge, Christian knowledge, even on social intelligence. Many Christians are gullible. Over 90% are gullible. That is the reason people can just say this kind of a thing and it goes. But when it comes to attacking the Bible, attacking God, attacking Christians, attacking Jesus Christ, that is when I respond. But if you speak the truth about the shortcomings of many Christians, there's no problem with that. You must learn to differentiate between Christianity and religiosity. Differentiate between who is a Christian and who is just a church goer. And to understand truly that Christianity is not evil, but many evil people are hiding under the umbrella of Christianity to be causing mayhem that they are causing. Yeah. So the reason Jesus Christ spoke and ended polygamy in Christianity, he had not even ended it all over the world. He ended it in Christianity is because Christianity is God's Reformation movement. All of the errors people were practicing in the Old Testament, the New Testament came for correcting them, restoring them, and bringing to awareness and to practice the reality of the will of God, the reality of the purpose of relationship between God and humanity. So Jesus Christ was restoring the damages people were putting into the religion through Judaism. There were other religions, but God was staging the relationship between him and humanity through Judaism into Christianity. So even though the majority of the Israelites, they rejected Christianity and rejected Christ, and yet they are still under Judaism. But the truth of the whole matter is that Jesus Christ came to re-educate the people to understand the perfect will of God. That is the reason he said, but it was not so. It is when he was asked about the divorce and about the polygamy, Jesus reminded them that from the beginning, it was not so. From the beginning, God never intended to establish and to endorse polygamy. But because of the pressure of the people under the leadership of Moses and the rest of them, God began to instruct Moses to begin to permit polygamy divorce. That is unwarranted divorce, intimidating divorce. Just because you believe that your wife is getting old, you don't like her anymore, you just divorce her to bring a younger one. That is what they were practicing those days. Not that the woman was committing adultery or disrespecting them. It is just because of this sexual lust we are talking about. It is the same thing that got many into polygamy. But it is not the will of God, but the people chose it for themselves. It is tradition they brought, human tradition they brought into Judaism. Then Jesus Christ came to reform and said, this was not part of it. Therefore, it will not come inside of Christianity. Yet other people who choose to practice polygamy, they are still practicing it. And we don't fight them for practicing it. But all we know is that God has reformed and said, no, we are going back to the original plan. The original plan is one man, one wife. Monogamy. So that is the reason. Because we believe in what Jesus has said, what God had reformed. We believe in the Reformation, which is Christianity. That is the reason we practice it. And according to Jesus, lying as a serpent said that polygamy is the means for men to become so great and popular, whatever. That is a lie. It is a lie. Nobody knows money polygamists. Nobody knows them. The most popular people on earth are not polygamists. The most popular people on earth, I mean outside of the Bible, they are not polygamists. And the most famous individual on earth and in the whole universe is Jesus Christ. He is not a polygamist. The greatest individual in the whole universe is Jesus Christ. He's not a polygamist. Polygamy never made him great. But the quality of service and affection and impact he created to favor humanity is what makes him great. Most of the great people we hear all over the earth are entrepreneurs, manufacturers. When we talk about Steve Jobs, the founder of Apple, it is what he had done that makes him great and give him fame, not polygamy. So what can you tell me? Most of the polygamies outside of the Bible, they are mediocres. They are mediocres. The majority of them are mediocres. And according to our logic, so far you can provide for them and provide them, you can never provide them equally. Even if you do that in the food, you can never provide them equal attention. You can never provide them equal sex. You can never provide them equal affection. You can never provide them equal tolerance. And when you cannot do that, you have offended. So the law becomes your standard. Can you outsmart God? So can't you see how shallow-minded they really are, why they are claiming to be so intelligent? Can't you see how shallow-minded they can be? Why they are claiming to be so intelligent? So, Yul Edochie is an irresponsible man for not agreeing with his wife, May Edochie, before getting into polygamy. So, I don't support any kind of culture that imposes slavery on people. So, if it is cultural, it is not the choice of every woman. If it is cultural, before you marry a new woman, let the woman know that you will marry more wives to add to her. That is the initial agreement if she accepts it. So if she's accepted, she's under obligation to tolerate it when you begin to practice your polygamy. No matter the problem you'll be having inside of it, that is a different matter. But if she says no in the initial time, just leave her. Go and find another woman who will accept polygamy with you, so that you will not be having problem with the first wife you have married. We cannot begin to blame the first wife for not accepting polygamy when there was no agreement that they will practice polygamy. And don't tell us that it is your tradition, even though you never discussed about it, it is your entitlement. No, that tradition is a slavery tradition, and that kind of tradition should be abolished. That tradition can be a little justifiable when, if the man wants to engage into polygamy without initial discussion and agreement for that between him and his wife. Before he takes the step, he must consult his wife. He must consult his wife. Then, if the husband insists to bring a second wife, and the wife says no, that tradition should not hold the wife under obligation to stay. If that tradition does it, that tradition is a tradition made by masses. Because the woman never prepared for it. So she can say no. And if she leaves, divorce. Then the man is free to go and charter many women as he wants. If all of them agree to be in polygamy, they agree in polygamy. Then let there be a peaceful divorce between him and the first wife, who never accept to be in polygamy with him and other women or any other woman. So consensus is very, very important. When authority is imposed on people, it becomes tyranny. It moves from fair leadership. Man stands the chance to make the right decision, not just to make the decision. The decision must be right. If the decision is wrong, that decision should be nullified. Man has the authority to lead, not the authority to be a selfish leader. And progressive leadership is determined by the leader leading well and the follower following well. These two things determine progressive leadership. Tyrannical leadership is not a progressive leadership. It is an intimidating, enslaving leadership. So, at least I've read the point. Jesus Christ came for reformation. That is the reason all of those rubbish were nullified. So, polygamy is not a part of Christianity. So, we are practicing Christianity. We have not begun to kill people for practicing polygamy. That is the reason we are in the world as Christians. Yet we are not of the world. We don't do our things the way of the world. We do our things the way of Jesus Christ. That is the reason it is Christianity. So, if we say no to it, we owe you no apology. We owe you no apology. Then if you say yes to polygamy, that is your choice. It is your cup of tea. And don't bring your selfish and the mafia culture that impose polygamy on people. Before you establish any polygamy, let there be a discussion, an agreement between the people involved. Anybody who says no should not be compelled to stay in polygamy. And that is what May Edochie have done. And they're expecting her to stay without discussing it with her from the beginning. Or even in the middle of the game, the man changes mind, because some men, they may agree that there will be no polygamy in the first time, in the first place. Then in the long run, they will begin to change their mind, or maybe for lust or for any reason. But whatever the case may be, before that polygamy should stand, you must consult your wife, either before marrying her or while in the marriage. You must consult with her. And she cannot commit any offense by saying no. If she says no, you as a man, you insist to go ahead to practice your polygamy, you are free. And at the same time, the woman is free to go and quit the marriage. So, it is selfishness of you, Letoche, that makes her not to have a consensus with me, Edoche, before getting into polygamy. Even I don't know whether his own is really polygamy. I'm calling on you, Ledoche, because that is the person she has not used as a case example. If the dowry Mr. Obasi paid on the head of Judy Austin had not been taken back, it means the two of them are still in marriage. So what Yuledoche is doing is committing adultery, both from traditional perspective and from Christian perspective. They are just having sex and giving birth to children inside of adultery, not in marriage. They are not yet in marriage, because a woman cannot marry two men at the same time. But a promiscuous woman can leave her husband and begin to prostitute with other men and be given birth. So that does not mean she is in marriage, no matter how they may disguise it. The only thing that justified them to be in marriage is the dowry Mr. Obasi had paid on the head of Judy Austin had been taken back. That is the only reason. So I think I have explained it to a level of proper understanding. The Bible never makes any mistake by endorsing polygamy in the Old Testament and standing against it in the New Testament. I have explained, because it's in the Old Testament they practice it with permissive will, but Christianity came to reform and to bring to perfect understanding about the perfect will, how God wants everything to be perfect. It is in Christianity. Then anybody is free to accept it or to reject it. But everybody is under compulsion to stand for judgment, either for judgment to condemnation or judgment to salvation, depending on how we live our life. Because it doesn't matter what anybody chooses. In the end, everybody must answer to God. May God bless you. May God bless you. So to know more about polygamy and the problems it generates, you must read this book. You must read this book, Polygamy and Its Problems from Points of Reality. It is available in Amazon. It is available in my bookshop. My bookshop is located at number 1 Comprehensive Road, Bayuchokwa Street, Abia State, Nigeria. It is available in Amazon. In Amazon, when you under the search bar, you see menus. Enter books. From inside of that book, type Polygamy and Its Problems. My own book will appear alongside others. The Olivet Prophecy, Matthew 24. It is also available in Amazon. Lusts and Their Problems, also available in Amazon. The 3 are all available in Amazon, and the 3 also are available at my bookshop. And with time, I will be publishing more books online via Amazon. Then any of the one I publish will also get into my bookshop physically. Then in my bookshop, with time, there will be so numerous books so numerous motivational books, not only the one that I write, many others, many other educational and motivational books written by other good, correct Bible scholars and Bible teachers. Until I come your way once again, I say bye to you. I remain your serviceable servant,